A very good morning to you on this 12th day of February. If you've reached us, you have joined the Fifth Connection, a channel on which we are given to talking you through the storyline of the scriptures. And this morning we are in Ephesians chapter 6 and verse number 16. Have you ever wondered why shadow boxing is important for a boxer or to a fighter? They pound the air, and to one who's uninitiated, they look like a madman. They look like those just trying to pummel an unseen enemy, an invisible one on top of it. Well, that's important because the way he or she boxes is they are sparring with an unseen opponent. And they are developing their speed and their skill and their reflexes in anticipation of what could come at them. The assembly is involved in a war, in a battle. The word fight sounds so mild and so light. But when you think about a battle armada, you think you have a huge battle structure. The way the US forces, for example, have clustered or are clustering around the Gulf region in the Middle East, poised, locked and loaded, ready to strike in anticipation of what could come at them and what they could be doing. Well, as believers, we are involved in a life and death struggle. And the only way to prepare for this battle is to understand the Ephesians 4 modality, the method of operations, battle preparations, which starts off for new believers or young initiates in verse number 1 already, that you are called to walk worthy, walk in alignment, where your life is in balance with who God is and what God says. Then the writer starts talking into this tall ordered hierarchy where the fivefold ministry is operational and believers are equipped because they are young initiates. They're initially told what to be thinking. I've never been to the army and in the army. I was not conscripted, so I don't know what that's about. But those who've been there tell me that in the early stages, they are hell-bent on breaking you down, getting you to a point where you are totally broken so that you can listen very intently to obeying rules. And now they start building you back up. It's a matter of whose authority are you listening to? What voices are you listening to? And here in chapter 6 of Ephesians, the writer is talking us through 6 aspects of one's life being aligned with the Logos. The Logos is Christ. Logos is divine speech, and Jesus is God's final, ultimate, able expression to the universe. God become man because Jesus becomes the ultimate structure of reality. He takes up human form. He lives a life in the context of what is really real. And so he's the one who calls us to alignment to himself. Because in the verse that we are going to look at in chapter 6, verse number 16, he has just discussed what needs to be on the feet of the corporate community. Shoes. Just imagine a corporate shoe, a corporate helmet, a corporate breastplate, a corporate belt. That's why it's so easy, in a sense, to teach this imagery to children, because we use the Roman soldier as the picture, but it is a lot bigger than that, because the jump needs to be made from the picture to reality, right? From the framing of the image to what is really real. And the unseen realm, when I last checked, is really real. There's a spirit world that's deep and wide and violently active in our world today. So much so that leaders become the forces in high places, because they are gods, they are the unseen beings who are influencing geographic locations and people, most of all. And so when we look at verse 16, he just comes out of talking, having on your feet the right shoes, the preparation of the gospel of peace, where your life is reoriented and remade. The fragmentation has been reintegrated. Your life has been reordered. That's what peace is about. The life of the believing community. And now he says, in all circumstances, note the word all, twice in this verse. All circumstances, all the flaming darts. In all circumstances, take up the shield of faith, with which you can extinguish all the flaming darts of the evil one. All circumstances are in view. You are living at the rock face of what is really real, and you need to be in tune with all the rhymes and the rhythms of reality. And how do you get in tune with that? You need to keep continuity of contact. What's that all about? That's the shield of faith. Take up the shield of faith. What is the shield of faith? It is that protective piece of battle armor that is Christ, in keeping with continuity of contact. Because you are to put on Christ. Romans 15, verse 12 to 14. The statement can be no more direct on that than that. Put on Christ. Put on the armor of light is putting on Christ. It's embracing who he is and what he does, and relating to him as a person, developing continuity. Note the word continuity. Continuously, continually. Keeping and staying in contact. Keeping continuity of contact with the structure of ultimate reality. With the ultimate structure of reality, who is Christ? Keep that equation in your head. You are maintaining a relationship with a live person who is closer than breath. Take up the shield of faith, the protective piece that keeps you in continuity of contact. Now, the danger here is always defining faith in terms of illegitimate totality transfers. In other words, we look at what other passages say and we transfer that into this passage. Just look at the passage. What is the writer talking about? He's talking about the field of relationality, which starts out in verse 15 already of chapter 5. He says, walk wisely. What does a wisdom walk look like? A wisdom walk is filled with, for some of us it's a swear word, relationships with capital letters, all uppercase, not some lowercase and some uppercase, all uppercase. Because oftentimes we are in the process of running away from relationships, and that's what God has called us into. When he called us into being, he called us into relations with relata. Relata is the stuff and the things that relationships are made up of, and it is the stuff within which we are to relate, and most of all, it's people. All circumstances are in view. The ebb and the flow of reality. Keep the contact with the one who is our contact. The ultimate structure of reality. Jesus, who lived inside of the rhymes and rhythms of what was really real. He was a real man. Not this Gnostic idea that the physical Jesus and the spirit Jesus were two different entities. He was a theanthropic person, the God-man. The scripture says, take up the shield of faith. Faith is a navigation faculty. Listen to how I'm going to say it. A navigational faculty that sensitizes us to the rhymes and rhythms of life. How developed is your navigation faculty? Or is it totally blunted? That's why you cannot navigate. You don't have navigational sensitivities. When you fly blind, you are totally dependent, or a pilot is totally dependent on the panels in front of him, the dials on the dash. And that's all he or she is studying and reading and making decisions upon. When you are in the bridge of a ship in the midst of the storm, you have to have navigational sensitivities to read the wind speed, temperature, size of the breakers, the swell, the intensity of the swell. And you need to know your ship, when to rev and when to cut or pull back the engines. Oh, faith has to do with navigational sensitivities. It's a navigational faculty that you and I can develop. And oftentimes we are called to develop that in the heat of the battle. But how wonderful it is that we can already be developing it when the battle challenges are low. So when we get into the height of the battle, we know how to keep continuity of contact in all circumstances. Take up the shield of faith with which you can extinguish. The word is extinguish. The word is deal with. Deal with all, not just some, all. A-double-L. Oh, that just floors me. All the flaming darts of the evil one. He has myriads upon myriads of options of what the text here calls flaming darts. And you can be battle ready for all the flaming darts of the evil one that can come at you, but only as you take up continuity of contact. You are in touch with heaven through this navigational faculty called faith. You are rehearsing your skills constantly in shadow boxing. We used to laugh at my dad when he started with his karate. Little short man, never obnoxious, very quiet. But my dad could do something that up until today I still can't do. And a cousin of mine and I were laughing yesterday as we were walking on the beach. Yep, walking on the beach, suffering for the gospel. And you know what we were laughing about? Our dad could break a brick by punching it with raw knuckles. Not just cracking the brick, but smashing it. I've tried it a couple of times. I'll never try it again. But you see, that comes through continuity of contact, constant practice, constant shadow boxing, constant practicing of the katas in the early stages of a karate. And eventually you become so adept, become this Shaolin monk, this Cobra Kai ability that Miyagi teaches Daniel-san. Wax on, wax off. It's how simple it is. But it's so crucial because when you get into the heat of the battle and when all circumstances crash in on you and all the flaming darts are fired, you're unparalyzed by what life throws. Jesus is the ultimate structure of reality because he shows us how to take on the enemy head on. He did battle with Satan head on. None of us, if any of us, will take on Satan in battle the way Jesus did. But it will come in different forms and in different ways through the emissaries of the evil one. How are you postured this morning for battle? Maybe you're not even ready to climb out of bed. You're dead scared to face your world and face reality. Well, back to life, back to reality by keeping continuity of contact. Today, you are going to face challenges in your marriage, with your kids, with your grandkids, in your job, and just plain and simple with people, with relationships. Are you posturing for the fight that comes with the field of relationality? Could be a sister, a brother, an uncle, an in-law. They've all become outlaws to you. But if you keep running, it's just going to get harder as your energy diminishes. Step up to the plate in all circumstances. Take up the shield of faith with which you can quench the flaming darts of the evil one. I trust that as you go into this day, you'll have a jump in your step as you face the fight with a battle readiness. Keep continuity of contact with the one who's called you out of darkness into light. Then you'll be able to lick the enemy in the power of the one who died for you and who rose again to give you life. I trust that you will have a good day as you go with God. And goodbye for now.